Hello and welcome to another episode of A Slice of Health, the Candid Health Chat podcast, where we slice away health truth from health fiction. Join me and my friends as we challenge common health myths via chit chat, powered by several cups of coffee. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media, and do visit us at asliceofhealth.club. Let's get to today's episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of A Slice of Health. It's me, your usual host, Mo. Today I'm joined by Isha. She is a Sierra Leonean born and raised in London who studied sociology at Warwick University. Today we will be discussing my HPV story, and that is Aisha's HPV story. She received an abnormal cervical screening result at the age of 29 in 2018. And this prompted her to share her knowledge of the disparities in healthcare among Black women via social media in the United Kingdom. As a result, in March 2019, she has appeared on BBC Breakfast, BBC London, Sky News and National Radio for the first Public Health England campaign, as well as the life-saving WAX campaign with Treatwell. She discusses the importance of regular cervical screening for African and Caribbean women and the associated taboos on several TV channels. Isha is also an avid podcast listener. She loves a good meme and almond milk cappuccinos. Welcome, Isha.
Thank you, Mo.
So thanks so much for coming on. Where are you getting these almond milk cappuccinos?
Anywhere. You just have to pay 40p more and they will give you, almond milk.
Almond milk cappuccinos.
Now everyone is staying home, so I make them at home instead.
That's absolutely fabulous. And how are you coping with COVID? So we were talking a bit earlier about trying to get food and things. How has it been down at your end?
For me, it's been pretty easy, fortunately, because I live with my auntie, so we don't really have to be mindful of children. My diet is very strict back, as is my aunt, so she's working from home. So it's a little bit more comforting because we know there's no kind of like chances of going out and contracting the virus and bringing it back home. But the cabin fever is getting real. Yeah. I think that is something that definitely gets to quite a lot of people as well. Just being indoors and not being able to go out, or being worried each time you go out as well. But I think it's really important for people to remember that they can go out, but you just need to keep a safe distance, between yourself and other people. One really amazing thing that I saw, I don't know if you've seen it, is that the National Trust has opened up all their gardens and their sites, and they've cancelled the fees as well. So you can walk in the gardens and on the grounds of the National Trust buildings and their gardens as well, just so people can get some fresh air and some exercise, as long as you're keeping a safe distance. So that's been pretty awesome. Okay, so it's all about the safe distance, because I know I'm trying to go to supermarkets when it's less busy, etc. But to be honest, if you're not going to work, or if you're not allowed to take public transport to go socialise, you do feel quite restricted. And our weather's quite temperamental as well, so sometimes you rather stay at home. I think it's more for some people, it's feeling like I have to stay home, not because I want to. So this kind of like feeling of I want to rebel, let me get out of the cage.
It is. I think it's not your choice, is it? It's, so, and we don't like it when someone else has imposed something on us. You just have that desire to break free as well, don't you? Have you been able to get toilet paper?
We've got enough for about maybe a week or two. But I have been looking on Amazon. Which makes sense now. So they're only sending deliveries out if your order is £40 or more. So through Amazon Fresh, in case anybody is struggling to get certain food products. They do have toilet roll, but you can't check out unless your order is over £40.
Over a certain amount. Okay. So I suppose everybody's just taking it one day at a time now with COVID, and we'll see what happens. The pubs and restaurants have been closed today, according to Boris Johnson. And so that means Mother's Day is coming in 2 days. So no restaurant dinners for mums. Everyone has to cook at home. Guys, try cooking for mum this time. See how it goes.
And if you don't live with mum, try and send her something in the post. Even though it's probably a bit too late now, but
But you can still order some cupcakes for her, order some flowers. Those would still probably be delivered as well. So so you can send those over as well. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about my HPV story. So I'm just going to give you the floor. Tell us about how you started on this journey, and then I'll ask you questions along the way.
So I think my journey started when I was 25.
Okay.
However, at the time, the cervical screening test wasn't necessarily looking for the HPV virus. So in 2018, that's when everything changed. So the HPV virus was in my cervix for about, I don't know how long, probably up to 3 years, and had then moved into abnormal cells, which were then removed later.
So when did you start screening? So did you go for your first invitation at 25?
Yeah, so I went on time just after my 25th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, and then for my second screening, it was a week after my 29th birthday.
Okay. So you went for your first one at 25, and then you went for another one at around your 29th birthday. And that was when they picked up what did they tell you when you got the call back? Because normally they'll call you back into the doctor's surgery, or they'll write you a letter. What exactly were you told?
So I wasn't called into the doctor's surgery. I was actually called by my local gynecological department to say that an appointment has been made, I think 4 or 5 days later, and it was just because I had an abnormal result. Okay. So they wanted to take a few biopsies in order to find out the area and severity of the abnormal cells. Okay.
And so that sounds like it happened quite quickly in terms of you getting the information that, you needed to be seen, and then you being seen quite quickly. And so I think that's quite a positive in terms of your experience on how quickly things moved. And what was going through your mind within those couple of days in terms of them telling you, well, you'd had your smear done by the nurse at the surgery, but now you had to go into the hospital to see a specialist. What were you thinking?
As soon as I got the phone call, I just hopped onto the internet, looked at the NHS website, looked at Joe's Cervical Trust, just to familiarise myself with the different categorizations of abnormal cells, so SIN 1, SIN 2, SIN 3, and what does it actually mean, what is the HPV virus, and why does it... So the virus can clear itself out. In a few cases, it stays and progresses and then changes the cells. So I think once I knew the information, I was more grateful because I didn't have any symptoms of any changes in my cervix. So I was just really pretty much grateful that, okay, I went on time and I will be seen, because it was in the middle of the summer as well. So I was quite happy that it might be a little bit quieter.
Okay. And what was the experience like going in for that initial biopsy? How did you find that experience going in?
It was really smooth sailing. I think I was sent a leaflet telling me about the colposcopy, so I knew what to expect. I had 2 nurses with me, and they kind of walked me through in terms of what sensations I might feel in my body. The gynecologist went through everything with me as well, just to tell me what is he looking for and why. And then after that, it was a case of 2 weeks to get back a categorization.
And so you then got the results back, and did you then go back in for further removal of the cervix after that? Did you get any further treatment, or was it just that one episode?
So it came back, and it was advised that I should have the loop removal, so the LETS procedure done to take it out because of the area and because of the severity, so it was SIN 2. So it wasn't advised at all to wait and see. There was evidence that, okay, if we don't remove these cells, they could possibly spread.
And so you had your loop procedure. And at the time, were you more anxious, when the histology results came back, that you definitely then needed the loop procedure? Had you known anyone who'd gone through the experience at all?
No, but the good part of the internet was very reassuring.
Okay.
So Joe's Cervical Trust had a forum where different women speak about their experiences, what were the categorizations, what was the timeline in terms of their treatment, and what to expect afterwards. Joe's Cervical Trust also had a helpline.
Okay.
So if you are feeling a bit anxious or if you're just a bit feeling out of sorts, you can call them.
Yeah.
Which was really helpful because I actually didn't know of anyone who had abnormal cells or had treatment.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I found that nobody in my immediate circle could relate
Okay.
to it. And it was more of a case of, oh, is it serious or is it not? Or it's a taboo, quote unquote, area of the body. So I was met with quite a bit of, not hostility, I think I was more disappointed in terms of how nonchalant some people were.
Okay.
Like, oh, well, I've never had my cervical screening test done and I feel fine. And I'm like, well, good for you. However, there are things happening in your body you have no, you're not privy to until potentially it turns cancerous and then everyone starts crying and shouting. So that was more I've always been quite proactive when it comes to my health.
Okay.
So as long as I have the information and I've been given a timeline in terms of we will treat you in the next 3 to 4 weeks. This is how you need to prepare. It will be local anesthetic. Yeah, it was pretty smooth sailing from then.
That's awesome. And so after you had the loop procedure for the Cervical Cancer Institute 2, how frequently have you then had your smears after that?
So I had one 6 months after.
Okay.
And that was all clear, so no HPV. And now I will have my next one in 2 years' time. Okay. Yeah, so I'm back into the normal 3-year recall.
Okay. So you've gone back into normal recall, and then now you've become an advocate for cervical cancer awareness, for screening awareness, especially in the Black community. And you said something that I just want to latch back on. You said about how that area is an area of taboo in terms of just conversation. Why do you think that is?
Our upbringing, religious backgrounds, our traditional backgrounds, the way we talk about the female reproductive system, concepts of like modesty or what is okay to talk about, what is not okay to talk about. You can talk about a headache, but you can't talk about period cramps.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, looking at the statistics, and around the time I was waiting for my treatment was when Public Health England will come out with a lot of statistics about it being at a 20-year low. And also around Black and minority ethnic groups having the lowest uptake, and then in London, and then 25 to 35. And I was reading the news and I was like, oh, this is me, and this is all of my friends.
Yeah.
And people I went to uni with. So that's what prompted me to say this is a bigger issue, and more about looking at why it's a bigger issue. So in terms of our concepts around what is seen as important and what is not, which is why I feel like in the current circumstance, so many people are having cabin fever because we're just so used to being busy. And I think busyness was a barrier to some people either booking in their appointments or not wanting to feel inconvenienced. But then you asked the question about did I know anyone who had abnormal? The answer was no. But over the last year, I've come across different people who are like, oh yeah, I had it one time, or oh, my auntie did. And I'm like, okay, so I understand culturally we're kind of, my business is my business. But my kind of stance was, if we're not sharing our business with those who are immediate to us, we are contributing to certain health outcomes. Like, it's good to share. So I think at the beginning, before I was doing the public health campaign, I was just on Instagram. My account was private at the time. I was just telling my 10 or 15 friends, like, hey, and I think, it was about 6 months later that Joe's Cervical Trust got in touch with me, simply because I did I did give them feedback to say I don't really see as many young Black women on their website.
Yeah.
Or who have shared their experiences. So it was just all very timely the way things came together.
Yeah. And that is really important. And I'm glad that you actually spoke to them about that, to say, you know, although they're a great source of information for you, you still didn't feel represented in terms of the information that you were receiving. And it's so different, isn't it, when you see someone that looks like you telling you about their experience of what you've gone through as well. It makes it different in a certain way. It just makes you feel like, okay, my voice might be heard. I'm not the only one going through this. I'm not going to be isolated when I have this experience. And you mentioned something about a friend of yours who said, oh, you know, I'm not having any symptoms and I'm fine and I've never gone for a pap smear. Was that friend sexually active? No.
So
okay.
in that context,
okay.
I was like, oh, okay. But still, you have, because coincidentally, I wasn't sexually active within those 3 years that the cells developed. So I was like, hello, you know, sexual activity doesn't mean that abnormal cells cannot develop in that area because of the amount of activity that a woman goes through on a month, well, hopefully on a monthly basis. So that pushed me more into finding out in terms of sexual activity. Are you using sex toys? Are you self-pleasuring? Like, there's so many different sections, but also along that, not just, and I don't know why, but I just felt the need to not stick towards the heterosexual part of the Black community and say, wherever you are, however your sexuality expresses itself, you are not exempt from it. So if you're in a same-sex relationship, if you are bisexual, if you are trans, if you have, so it came to a point where I was just like, if you have cervix and you have been sexually active, however
and that's why I asked that question, because obviously it's not about current sexual activity, it's actually about any sexual activity in the past, which is why you know, when a woman says she's never been sexually active, if she's, you know, even above 30, if she has never ever had any sexual activity, we don't actually push for her to have the cervical screening, because she's actually at low risk. And, you know, the kind of HPV that causes cervical cancer and cervical changes is sexually transmitted. However, if you've had any kind of sexual encounter, and when I say sexual encounter, you know, I always emphasize that it actually means touching. It means fingers, it means lips. It doesn't care if it is a male partner, a female partner, a sex toy, a rabbit, whatever it is. Any kind of activity that is sexual in nature can cause transmission of HPV from one partner to the other. And then that can, you know, then cause the change in cells. And that change in cells is not always immediate. So it can stay for a long period of time and then manifest itself in the future, which is why we do the cervical screening. Did you ever have the immunizations by any chance while you were in school?
No. So I think I was in my first year of uni when they started it.
Okay.
So that's been very interesting in terms of people who had the HPV vaccine and their uptake of having regular screening tests. So I know that their percentage should be slightly lower, but it's still encouraged that they have the regular screening.
Definitely, especially if you're sexually active, regardless of whether you've had the immunizations or not, it's still recommended that you do have the cervical screening as well, because it doesn't only look for the HPV, it also allows the nurse or doctor to actually visualize your cervix and see what is going on there as well, and allows them to check the nature of the cells as well. And in terms of the Black community, which is where you've done quite a lot of your advocacy work recently, why? I mean, we talked a bit about how it's taboo, so we don't talk about, we pretend that nobody's having sex. meanwhile everybody's having sex, or most people are having sex. If not, we'd not be having, any babies born. We choose which kind of diseases we want to talk about and which kind of illnesses we want to talk about. And the C word is a word that we really don't want to talk about. The cancer word, we make it sound like a plague. Why do you think that is? And what do you think we can do to try to demystify the taboo around it?
First part of your question, why do we prioritize certain illnesses, disease over others? I think it's because it's easier that way. I think I grew up thinking that it's only the older people who get sick. There's a culture of silence in a lot of our communities. So I've heard of people who have found that, for example, they're sickle cell carriers, and asking the question, well, why didn't you tell me? Oh, because, shame. But you're having children who are in their 20s and 30s who are only now finding out that certain things are hereditary. So I think the culture of silence, culture of shame, certain body parts, particularly like genitals, it's just a case of why would you have someone examine there? Or some of us weren't taught how to assess changes in our body, or to pick up, let's say, oh, actually, I've been cramping a little bit more. Actually, I'm spotting. Some of us have been taught to brush it off, just take an extra paracetamol, or lay hands on yourself, or it must be because of you've been fornicating. And it's like, no, actually, you might just need to see your GP. So it's a case of also not. Representation has a part to play. So I think if you see something, particularly cancer, people might associate that with, oh, that's a them sickness. We don't. Some of that was floating around COVID last week, where it was like, oh, we don't know of any black people, and then all of a sudden it was like, actually, my sister's best friend's husband. So we feel like we're immune, or unfortunately, what prompted my advocacy was I said, I'm tired of hearing that so-and-so's mum died, auntie died. It doesn't need to get to stage 4. It doesn't need to get to terminal. It doesn't need to get to, spread from a kidney to a lung. So I think for me, and kind of my tagline was, our grandparents are always praying for us to have long life and prosperity, but we need to actually use these brains to, work with those prayers to have the long life and prosperity. And I think looking around at my immediate social group and extended, I'm like, well, everyone is, ticking all these boxes, all these professions, the house, car, the husband or the wife, or the holidays. And I'm like, surely now it's time for the community as a whole to start taking care of the body. That was more the way I went through that. What can be done to change that is having the conversation. So I told my dad first. Okay. And then I think the day before the appointment, I told my mum, because I knew and she did. She started crying, and
Yeah.
Whereas my dad was more, this is good. They'll take care of you. So the way I moved forward was just talk to those who I actually have a good relationship with. I remember challenging a few people to be like, hey, quite a few people are in group chats, like small group of women, just have the conversation. I had the conversation with some of my male relatives as well, and friends, to be like, yo, she's cool. Has she? And the conversation has changed where a few of my guy friends have kind of signposted their partners to be like, hey, she's a bit worried about, is it gonna be painful?
And that's so great. Yeah, that is. I'm actually really happy that you've said that in terms of male partners, especially encouraging their female partners to go for a screening, and to be able to say, okay, you know what, I know Isha, she's an advocate for this. She can have a chat with you before you go and tell you, little things that you might be able to do to make it more comfortable before you go for your smear.
It was also a case of, I got the appointment letter, I got the reminder text, I just forgot. So for some people, it was always on their to-do list, like go to the dentist, or it was just a little push.
Yeah.
So I was very comfortable with, I think at the time, my 300 friends and acquaintances on social media.
Yeah.
Just to be like, hey guys, Christmas is coming or New Year is coming. And then the reach went national.
Yeah.
But I'm a community girl at heart. Like, I think more the time I try not to force anyone to have the screening test done. I'm just like, hey, here's the information, just so you know.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get there. I think it's more we are a word of mouth kind of community.
Yeah.
So the big posters and the big national campaigns, it doesn't really matter.
No.
We only pay attention if our sister or our cousin or our auntie says.
Yeah. It's true. I think it's the way it's kind of the way we've been raised, isn't it? In a lot and I think that cuts across Black communities all over the world, really. It's sort of, but do you know anyone who actually, and that's sort of the thing, isn't it? That, okay, well, if I know that my, two of my best friends had it, and it's something similar, even for me, like, talking about fibroids and things, like, it's those kind of things where you kind of always knew that you probably had a fibroid and you've always had horrible periods and it's always been horrible. And then two of my friends went and had fibroid surgery. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I should probably go have a scan. And they're like, oh yeah, you've got fibroids. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of knew I probably did. But, and I'm a doctor. So it's one of those things where in our community, we do that, but we really ought to move away from doing that a bit more and maybe just...
We always need a guinea pig. We need to know that somebody went through it and survived, not died. We have this concept. We have this concept of, okay, but don't tell me that. Tell me that they're okay.
That's true. I've never thought about, but hearing you articulate it so well, you're actually correct. You are.
But as you said, your two friends, they had the surgery as well. But it was interesting because I was probably up until this time last year, I was pretty much like cervical screening's my thing, but then I became more aware in terms of, this pain actually shouldn't really be there. And last May I went and I had an ultrasound. But because I had built up this kind of language with my GP, when I told her my symptoms, she was automatically like, we're sending you for an ultrasound. And they found a fibroid. If I'm thinking maybe if I hadn't have gone through the removal of the abnormal cells and stuff, I would have just pinned the pain down to PMS, but I was kind of looking at the symptoms and I'm like, well, they didn't go that far up. So this, that pain should be good. But I think similar to a lot of women, I had been living with that pain for a really long time. But I just thought it was, I'm wearing too many heels or, so I think having those conversations. But I think around the conversations around health, I don't know if you found this. I don't really get many public comments, but I'll get the DMs and I'll get the paragraphs. But I'm like, but I really wish you had left a comment because more people will see the comment and be encouraged than the DM. So, is what it is. We still have this private pool, which I respect. We definitely, I think we definitely do in terms of wanting to keep it as part of our thing because we feel as though if we put it out there, what is someone else going to say about us? What are they going to think about us? Are they going to think, especially when it comes to the genitals, the womb, the cervix, am I going to be able to have children? And then obviously children are a big thing in our community. Those kind of things. It's just, there's just so much taboo and there's so many things that we need to demystify. And I think also when you live alone in your own struggle, in your own pain, in your own illness, it also hinders your ability to heal, regardless of what it is you're trying to heal from, because we all do so much better in an environment of community.
And that's something that we've not encouraged.
And it's really hard. Like, similar to, I can definitely identify with you because I was, 20, I just turned 29. And, you know, my mum came with me to the first appointment, but then afterwards I was like, you're not coming to anymore. Because the gynecologist did say, you know, if I was to become pregnant, they would have to put a stitch in my cervix. And I just saw the way her body was like, and she was like, oh, and he was, you know, you have to have a C-section, and my mum has this thing about no C-sections, and she was just like, and I was like, it's not the end of the world.
It really
and
is.
And plus, another taboo, who told you I wanted to have children anyway? So it's just this expectation of, you know, don't go for the ultrasound probably, or don't go for the screening, because what if they find something?
Yeah.
And then what we attach prestige to starts to crumble.
Yeah, it really does. It really does, because, you know, the lines, you know, continue to add in front of you, and you start avoiding knowing what's going on, or you start accepting it. Oh yeah, you know, all the women in your family have horrible, painful periods. It's absolutely fine. It's normal. Just take an extra paracetamol, take an extra ibuprofen. You know, you're taking the extra ibuprofen here and there, or you're ignoring a discharge, or you're ignoring the bloating of your belly, you're ignoring the weight loss, your hair is falling out, but you're not talking to anybody about it. And these are all, you know, signs of different kinds of illnesses, but we're not talking about it because we're so afraid of what is coming. But we're living in a state of illness, and that is not beneficial for us either. And what kind of things do you normally say to women who haven't had their first smear yet? So let's say, you know, you've got a young 30-something-year-old. She's been sexually active, you know, but she just has never gone because she's just always been afraid or always thought it wasn't necessary. What would you say to her if you were trying to encourage her to attend?
I would say the screening test is less painful than it is to have, let's say, if you wax. It's always done by a female practitioner. You can actually speak to your practice nurse after all this COVID has blown over, which again actually gave me a little bit of a panic, because I'm like, we're close, you know, you can't have GP surgery, so the recall of women who should have their screening done gets pushed back. But yeah, back to your question, I would say I'll try and find out why. Their sexual trauma, FGM, have you had a bad experience? Maybe you had your first screening test and it was very painful. So actually speaking, making a woman know that you can ask for a smaller speculum, you can ask for more lube, you can come back. If you need a chaperone, you can have one. You can, the condition where some women's vaginal walls close.
Yeah, vaginismus.
Yeah, if that is the case, you can hopefully soon get a referral onto the gynecology department. So there's so many different avenues. And it doesn't need to be excruciating. Doesn't need to be painful, uncomfortable. Do some breathing exercises. But my thing is, if you are, let's say, late 20s, early 30s, you don't want to fall into the category of, if you choose to become pregnant and abnormal cells are found, they cannot be treated whilst you're pregnant. So there have been some cases towards the end of last year when, unfortunately, some women was found whilst they were pregnant, whilst they had given birth. And please do not say you're waiting for symptoms, because the symptoms, when they do show, it's well beyond the, you know, the 15-minute procedure under local anesthetic. Cervical cancer is one of the cancers, gynecological cancers, that when it spreads to the other organs, and then you start seeing more pressing. But this is the only screening test we have that detects cancer before it develops. Pre-cancerous cells. So that's what the cervical screening test is trying to find. Pre-cancerous cells. So they can be treated, removed, and you're continuously being checked and monitored. So it's 15 minutes. And I would say most of the 15 minutes is them just checking if you're taking off your underwear, taking off your trousers or your skirt, hopping off and on. Most of I shouldn't laugh, but most of the appointment is actually you getting dressed and getting undressed.
Yeah. It is actually a very quick procedure. It's about 2 minutes probably, if you actually count the actual, going in, looking at the cervix, doing the brush, taking it out, putting it in the cup, and that's it. So it is actually really quick. And I think that is where people get really anxious about it, isn't it? It's that I've never had anything like that before. What exactly are they going to do? And just trying to explain that it's actually a very quick, procedure, and you'll be talked through the procedure. And that is the really amazing thing about the cervical screening. Like you said, it is picking up precancerous cells so that they can be treated, nipped in the bud before they become something significant, because cervical cancer is very silent. It's very, very silent.
I would also say, a bit tongue-in-cheek, please don't come to me with the whole, because you've had other things bigger than a speculum in there, or for longer than that. So let's just be real, sister to sister, let's just be real. I know our mom and our dads and our grandparents aren't supposed to know that, and it's a female practitioner. So I'm just saying, okay?
You have a point. You do have a point. But I think maybe also it's that people are more comfortable with those things. And I think they don't become comfortable with those things either at an instant. So that builds up as well.
Okay, yeah.
And so that builds up as well. And so they probably become comfortable with it because they've seen their friends do it, or their friends have talked about doing it as well. And then they've gone ahead and done it. And so maybe if we actually got into a habit of talking about it when we met up with our friends and said, okay, you know what, I just came back from my smear, or, I'm during my lunch break, I'm going to the GP surgery to have my smear done tomorrow. What are you up to? I hope you've had yours recently. And if we just make it part of our regular conversation, then actually maybe we might then just become as comfortable with it as a lot of women are comfortable with a lot of other things that do go up in there. And then maybe we can then be on our way to better health and, reducing the numbers of Black women that we're losing to cervical cancer. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, definitely. What would you give as a championship point to everybody following our episode today?
The HPV virus can inhabit your cervix for a wealth of reasons, a number of different ways. We do not have to chip and pin at present to have the cervical screening test done. It's free, it's available. It's a 15-minute test. It can be slightly uncomfortable, but as I said, ask for a smaller speculum or lube, extra lube, that is available. And see it as part of your self-care routine, just as you might go and get, your nails done, or your wig whatever, or get your teeth whitened, go to the opticians. Yeah. It's every 3 years. It's not every 3 months. So do it, please, for the sake of yourself, for the sake of your well-being, because as Mo pointed out, it's very silent and it's very prevalent.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you so much, Aisha, for coming on the episode today. I've had an absolute blast, and it's been great talking to you. And I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people, just to encourage them as well and demystify the problems that we're currently having with cervical cancer screening in the UK among Black women. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Do share this podcast with 2 people who have not heard about us before. Remember that this podcast in no way replaces advice from your own doctor or physician. Do subscribe and follow us on social media. Leave us a review on iTunes so that others can access the amazing content. And do join the club at asliceofhealth.club and drop us some suggestions or questions that you might have. Don't forget to be a health champion wherever you go by separating health fact from health fiction.